let me see, and let's see where we are. How many people do you think are illegal immigrants in this country from Bangladesh? How many illegal Bangladeshis do you think are in this country? A rough figure would help. That will tell us what we actually know of the situation. Sorry? 2 to 3 crores was a figure given in early 2000s. Today we are looking at 6 to 7 crores. There was a time when this problem was limited only to the northeast of the country, and we've always given stepmotherly treatment to the northeast, therefore it didn't make too much of a difference to us. But it is now no more a problem that is limited to the northeast. Look at the statistics, look at the figures, and you'll ask yourself, what is happening? In your lifetime, this country and this society will change, and this will no more be the place that you will even recognize. You go to Assam and you ask any Assamese, he will tell you less than 40% of that state has native Indians. The rest come from Bangladesh. We may be thinking that we helped the creation of Bangladesh and therefore they are grateful to us. But we don't understand that Bangladesh was previously East Pakistan. So they made a choice in 1947. They carved for themselves a certain identity in 1947. Merely because they separated from West Pakistan doesn't change their original decision to stay away from secular India. Why is this important? Because as far as we are concerned, since we have told ourselves that we don't have a specific identity, we don't seem to have a problem with illegal immigration also. Because then we'll immediately cite an ancient Indian tradition. Atithi Devo Bhava, they have to come. How can we behave like this as far as these people are concerned? We have welcomed the Jews, we have welcomed the Afghans, we have welcomed the Tibetans. Why can't we welcome these people? Have Tibetans killed you? In all the years that Tibetans have lived in this country since the invasion of their country, have you heard one riot between Tibetans and Indians? At least in the name of religion. Jews have been living in this country for millennia. They too are a monotheistic faith. Have you heard of one problem between Jews and non-Jews? Parsis have lived in this country. They perhaps constitute the best definition of a minority because today their population is 60,000 and even going down. You've never had a problem as far as they are concerned. So how is it that a position with respect to one particular group is immediately interpreted as an anti-minority position when I don't seem to have a problem with any other minority? They are minorities in the true sense of the word. What does this tell you? And I have to impress upon you this important aspect. 10 years ago or 15 years ago, those places where you would have comfortably been in a position to celebrate your festivals or enjoy your traditions and customs, today you need permission in those places to celebrate your own festivals. What has happened in Calcutta, what has happened in West Bengal, and the need for judicial intervention for you to be able to carry out your own processions and to celebrate your own festival is a wake-up call for the rest of the country. If you do not wake up right now, in your own lifetime, you will find 1,000 warmongers and barbarians standing outside your home and asking you to give up or give up your faith, give up your life or give up your faith. And if I don't know if how many people are even following the news in Kerala. Every day, almost 15 girls are being shipped to Syria. Almost 15 girls on a daily basis. Please wake up to these things for the simple reason that if you think India is only a place where you earn a degree and run away to the West, perhaps the future will, the next generation will not even have an India to do so. You will not be in a position to do that either. Importantly, you can leave this country and run from one country to another, but can you abandon your identity altogether? That will continue to hound you. And someone who has a problem with your fundamental identity, it doesn't make a difference to him whether you're in India or any other place. As long as you don't give up that particular identity, he's going to come after you. Therefore, an Indic Renaissance is not an academic discussion. It is not a discussion meant for, let's say, wine tasting rooms, or it's not a discussion meant for just books. It has a very real relevance to the existential issues that face this country today. So my request would be that we need to choose for ourselves how do we wish to contribute to this renaissance in one way or the other. You can either be the financiers of this particular movement, or you can be the influencers of this particular movement. You can be the thought leaders of this particular movement, or you can be the grassroots activist. But you must take part in this particular movement in one way or the other, because if you don't do so, your children will not live in the same India that you lived. And you certainly don't live in the same India that your parents lived. So as far as I'm concerned, action is most important. Choose for yourselves one area where you think you're in a better position to contribute, and focus on contributing it in one way or the other. Me, as part of my work, and my team have chosen the legal and the constitutional means to contribute in whichever small way that we can, to push forth our point of view. To push forth the point of view that the space for an Indic identity is being encroached increasingly, and there must be a constitutional resistance to it, and that's what we are doing. Please choose for yourself a certain forum, a certain field of activity, a certain area of expertise, and dig deep into it, and make sure that you contribute to it in one way or the other. One of my most favorite statements is, if you can't be a Rana Pratap, at least be a Bhamasha. If you can't fight in the field of battle, at least help those people who are taking the fire on a regular basis. There is strength in numbers, and therefore numbers matter, and therefore demographics matter. We are willing to treat everybody as our equal, and for us it doesn't make a difference who comes from what faith, but it seems to matter to the other side, unfortunately so. So wake up to this reality and find an area where you can contribute to the Indic Renaissance in one way or the other. Questions, please.